I'm Suzannah Doyle, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to stylize a song by thinking in chords. First of all, the most important thing to do when you're going to stylize a chord or have it feel a certain way is to think of the chord, in this case the C chord in the right hand, C, E, G, but to think of it in both hands. And that everything you do to stylize your song is going to be based on thinking about how to use the notes of that C chord, whether it's in the right hand or the left hand. One of the very first things people do when they're learning how to play simple chords is to play the chord in the right hand, and in the left hand, knowing that your choices are play one of those notes of the chord. The most important note to play is the bottom note of the chord, or the note that the chord is named after, in this case, the C note. So pressing and holding the C bass note along with the C chord gives you your first step into making a song have a certain style and feel. The next step is to realize that of those three notes that make up the C chord, C, E, and G, you can change the feel of them by deciding which order to play them in. For example, if you put this C of the note of the chord, which is this one, on top, up here instead of down there, it has a more open feel. And conversely, if you take this note from the bottom and put it on the top with the C now in the middle, you still have the C chord, but it has a very different sound. So a C chord in what's called root position, with the name of the chord on the bottom, has a certain sound, kind of a closed, solid, dark sound. The C on top gives it a more open sound, and the C in the middle of the three notes of the chord gives it another kind of open sound. So that's one of the first ways you can start experimenting with how to make a chord sound different, even though you're using the same three notes. And just a note on piano that these three notes of the C chord are the same no matter which octave you play them in. You can play them octave higher, octave lower, all the way up or down the keyboard. Or you can even spread them all out. Play the C there, the E up above, and the G in the middle, for example. Playing by chords is really learning how to recognize the three notes, sometimes four for advanced chords, but the three notes that belong in that chord, and finding different places on the keyboard to play them. And the next step is playing around with them rhythmically, both by themselves and in conjunction with the bass note. So as I said earlier, the most basic thing is to play the single bass note, the lowest note of the chord, the name of the note the chord is named after, in this case C. Press the bass note with your left hand and the chord in your right hand. That's the most basic way to play a chord. The next step is to alter the rhythm. For example, you might play the bass note in your left hand on beat 1 and play the chord on the next three beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or same bass note, same chord, but alternate them. Bass, chord, bass, chord. So really you're playing the same things, the same notes, you're just doing them in a different rhythmic pattern. Building on that, you can continue, for example, a triplet pattern, which is common in 1950s chord progressions, where every time on every single beat in the right hand, instead of playing one pulse, you play three. So you go 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. You can hear how it goes to that 1950s sound. So triplets in the right hand instead of straight fours gives you a real rhythm and bluesy 1950s sort of feel. Let me do that one more time. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, if we add the triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So it's really the same simple chord and the same simple bass note. We're just adding that rhythmic variation.